AltFunds Global presents Why Get a Bank License and Why Choose AltFunds Global as your partner to find the right one.
All of the information presented is for entertainment and information purposes only. Nothing discussed constitutes legal or accounting advice, an offer or solicitation of financial services, or financial advice of any kind. Our goal is to showcase alternative vehicles to raise capital. At no point will we be soliciting any investment programs.
Tamor, most people think of banks that they are these massive institutions with impossible barriers to entry. But you say that is not the case. So who can actually own a bank license, and why should they even want to start to consider that?
So first of all, that's true. Not everybody can get a bank license. If you have a criminal record, probably no regulator that I know of will want to give you a bank license.
Okay.
What makes sense is that if you're a capital intensive business, like imagine if you're a real estate investor. Real estate investors, the more money you give them, the more they can invest in real estate, the more money they make, the more homes they build. If you're a technology company, the more money you have, the more technology you build. Pharmaceutical, the more money you have, the more drugs you build, like that. So capital intensive business, you could be a lender. You could just be a lender, mergers and acquisitions, venture capital, like capital intensive businesses. A lot of them, at some point, it makes sense to just get a bank license. And I'll give you an example. I have a client, former client now, obviously. They were in one portfolio, in one specific geography, they had 29 different mortgages from different banks on all the real estate transactions they've done. I mean, it was just a nightmare because they've maxed out all their capital, all the amount of loans they can get from all the banks and investors, just maxed it out. And then you have to manage your investors, your banks, you've got all these things you've got to manage all the time. They made a decision to go get a bank license. I helped them go find a bank to meet with and invest in an existing bank instead of starting from scratch. Part of the deal was they went to the bank and said, look, if I become a major investor in this bank, can you structure transactions specifically for my portfolio of work?
Interesting.
And that was that was one of the benefits to them that they thought they'll have immediately, right? So now they don't need to go to 29 different banks and 50,000 investors like that. They only go to one bank. The surprise that they discovered was that once you acquire a bank, or once you're a bank owner, however you want to think about it, guess what? Banks borrow money from other banks. If you look at the spreadsheet of banks, how they make money, there's a line item called overnight lending. Well, who are you doing overnight lending to? It's another bank. So if you are a capital intensive business owner and you decide to now become a part owner of a bank or own a bank license or something else, you now qualify to be part of a network of banks where you can borrow money from other banks. And let me tell you, so much more easier, so much more faster. And let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Imagine you have $100 in your pocket.
Okay.
And I come to borrow $50 or $80 of that $100.
Okay.
And a bank also knocks on the door and they want to borrow the same amount of money. Who are you more likely to lend that money to, me or a bank?
Well, I automatically, when I think of banks, I think of them taking advantage of their customers.
Yeah.
Fees after fees after fees. So for
That's
me,
why
a
they make money.
trusted person like you, I would be like, well, I trust him more, but I don't know about this big bank, and if I'm going to get lost in the sea of fish, and if they're going to have additional fees that are hidden and they're 100-page contracts, that's what would be going through my mind.
Right. But for a business owner, they'll say, okay, people who don't know me, they'll say, okay, look, I can't go around loaning money to a bank. So all I want to say is that it's a lot more easier to access capital when you have a bank license behind you or you're part owner of a bank.
Yeah,
compared to being a accredited investor who's like constantly looking for capital to grow.
that's brilliant. It puts the power back into you.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's the thing. It's like you're no longer the gimme, 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 I need this, I need this. It's become, all right, people, I've got this. I have the license. I am the source. Like it goes from being, I almost want to say a victim to a victor. And I don't like the word victim, but you go from puppy dog to, a place of true power.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
So it's just such an interesting twist that a lot of us don't think of. And one of the things with you, Tamor, is that you have helped a lot of high net worth individuals and financial groups truly break free from these traditional lending constraints.
Right.
How does owning a bank license shift and this goes back to just what we were talking about, how does it shift the power dynamic when it comes to accessing capital?
So if you are a legitimate financial institution, you've been in existence for a bit of time, you've got a certain amount of assets under management, and you're tied to a central bank, there's this word you may want to look up called fractional banking. And
Fractional banking.
Fractional banking. So what it is that if you suddenly deposit $10,000 in your account tomorrow, the CEO of your bank will go to a central bank and will leverage the $10,000 to get $100,000 line of credit for himself. That $100,000 of credit that they get from the central bank is called fractional banking. I'm going to just tell you a short story around it, if I may, of the history of fractional banking. Imagine my ancestors, like I'm half Indian, right? And let's say you are from, let's say LA, I'm just making this up.
Sure.
Or sorry, you're in France today, French. Let's say.
Okay, I'm French. Je suis français.
All right. Imagine my ancestors wanted to buy shoes from your ancestors. What they would do is they would get on an elephant, because India has a lot of elephants, and come with the elephant all the way to France to meet your ancestors. And they would say, look, I need to buy some shoes. Can I borrow an elephant for the shoes? And your ancestors would say, this is France, like what am I going to do with the elephant? Play with it, eat it, like what am I going to do with the elephant, right? But barter had that problem. But that's how my ancestors and your ancestors commerce. It was like a barter system.
That's right.
So what happened was that my ancestors and your ancestors agreed that gold would be the currency of exchange. So now when my ancestors want to buy shoes, they get on the elephant and they've got a pot of gold. They come all the way from India to France.
Yeah.
Cindy, could you imagine what would happen if people saw my ancestors on the elephant with a pot of gold? You probably want to beat them up, steal the gold, kill them, take the gold, like that, right? So that was the second problem. What happened was that when my ancestors and your ancestors went to the goldsmith, this didn't happen overnight. It took a while for it to happen. What they did was they asked the goldsmith, can you give me an IOU? On a piece of paper, can you give me an IOU? So the goldsmith started to give people an IOU. The IOU was the first invention of what today we call as money. IOU. And so now my ancestors, when they want to buy shoes, they get on the elephant. By the way, just so you know, the elephant doesn't disappear out of the story. And they come from all the way to France. Right. They come down to meet your ancestors, but now they have an IOU. That's a lot more easier to exchange. So the goldsmith got together and they had two discoveries. The first discovery was nobody's cashing in the IOU. Nobody is cashing in the IOU. The second discovery was, well, what happens if there's a virus in the village, or if there's a war or something that happens and everybody takes a run at the goldsmith and wants to cash in their IOUs? What do I do? Today we call that a different word for that same way of thinking. It's called a run at the bank, a bank run, where
That's right.
everybody runs to a bank. But by the way, a few years ago, they did this in Lebanon. The currency was plummeting. Everybody ran to the bank in Lebanon to get their money out. So it does happen to them. The emperor, the ruler at the time was a Roman emperor, and he told the goldsmith, for every gold coin, I'm allowing you to give away 10 IOUs. So that's what invented the fractional banking system. That's why when you deposit $1,000 in your bank, the CEO of your bank goes to the central bank and multiplies that 1,000 by 10,000. Now, if I go to your bank and I'm depositing $2,000, now he goes and gets $20,000. But imagine, Cindy, I don't know how old you are, but just imagine if all your life, every time you deposit money in your account, you got a 10x multiplier, 10x multiplier, 10x multiplier, 10x multiplier. How would that change your life?
Oh, it would be epic.
Now,
It would be epic.
Right.
I mean, if you had invested $1 million over your lifetime in that bank, you all of a sudden have 10 million. Is that right?
Right, 100%. Now, I want to be straight about this. It's not free money. The central bank is not printing
Nothing,
money.
right.
You know, they're charging it's a line of credit. So they're charging what's called prime rate to the bank. But still, if I am if I run a coffee shop and you run a coffee shop, and my coffee shop and your coffee shop are right across each other, same street in LA or Paris or whatever you want,
Yeah.
and I'm buying my beans from the same guy you're buying your beans from. We can talk about my logo is better than your logo, but end of the day, we're selling the same coffee to the same market. But you have a bank license and I don't. At the end of the year, I make $400,000 in profit and you make $400,000 in profit. The only difference between you and me is you have a bank license and I don't. So that $400,000 goes to a central bank. You get a 10x multiplier. That means you get $4 million credit. Now, if you places and a lot of people in the U.S. either go to Puerto Rico, Malta, Cayman Islands. They certainly don't go to Dubai or Singapore. But let's say Cayman Islands.
Sure.
You put in your $400,000, you get $4 million line of credit. You come back to LA and you go to Wells Fargo, whoever you bank with.
Yeah.
You say, look, I have a coffee business. I'm going to grow my business. You know when you want to buy a house, you put 20% down and the bank loans you the 80%?
Sure.
Well, you do the same thing. I have a business, I'm putting 20% down, I'm putting $4 million down. What's the loan you can give me? Assuming you have the right business plan, you get a $16 million loan. It's not free money, it's the loan. But now I want to compare you and me together. Same coffee shop, I'm across yours.
Yeah.
I made $400,000, you made $400,000, but you turn your $400,000 into a $16 million loan. What can you afford to do with $16 million that I cannot do with $400,000? No, seriously. Could you buy auxiliary businesses? Hell, my supplier. Can you buy out my supplier?
I can buy out the supplier. I can create a chain across France. There's all kinds of amazing things I could do
like that. Those are the benefits of that's the answer to your question. I think on the benefits of how the money gets leveraged and the benefits for people that get bank license.
Yeah. Timur, I really love this because it really explained it brilliantly. It's like, okay, I just got $400,000 and it's like, wait a second, it's just kind of sitting there versus, oh, I've got a bank license. I've got access now. And that just turned into 16 million.
Right.
And now I can not just have one cafe, I can have 15. Right. I cannot just have one cafe, but I can it gives you power. It gives you, going back to how does this shift power by dynamics? It actually gives you leverage. It gives you power. It gives you opportunities that would not be there otherwise.
100%. I love it. Opportunities that wouldn't be there otherwise. 100%.
Yeah, Timur. We always hear that getting a bank license is a bureaucratic nightmare. It's filled with all kinds of red tape. But because you are you and you're brilliant, you have cracked the code. So can you give our viewers what is the real process like and how do you make it faster?
So I don't know if I've broken the code, but look, any regulator, any auditor that wants to sell you a bank license, there's some basic things you need to have. The first term is called clean shoes. Clean shoes means you cannot have a criminal record. Like you cannot have gone bankrupt. Like you have to be squeaky clean. If you're not squeaky clean, I don't know any regulator that wants to give you a bank license. So that's not something I can help you with. Like you're either squeaky clean or not. And if you're not, please don't call me. Respectfully, don't call me. But so that's that. You need to have some form of a resume. Like what have you done before? Why do you think you can run a bank? So your resume matters a little bit. Another thing that matters a lot is what's your business plan? What's unique about your bank that I should know about? So if you're an American, as an example, and you want to get a bank license in Cayman Islands, I wouldn't say I have a business plan. I want to go and make ultra rich people in the US even richer. Like that's probably not the business plan I would put forward. I'll probably put forward together saying, I run a capital intensive business. I'm going to grow my business to places like South America. And I want to loan businesses to women entrepreneurs. And I want to give them $1,000. Like something that, okay, this is if you're applying in Cayman Islands. You don't have to apply to Cayman Islands. You can apply to different jurisdictions. I'm just using Cayman Islands as an example. But whichever jurisdiction you're applying for, I would definitely put a carrot in it for that. Like, here's the benefit to you for doing that. So you need a business plan. Then, believe it or not, a lot of banks today are actually technology companies calling themselves banks. Think about your bank, whoever you bank with.
Yeah.
Can you do online banking? Can you do e-transfers? Can you do whatever you do? Right? A lot of banks are technology companies. Not that they're trying to call themselves a bank, but a lot of them are like that. So when it comes to applying to, so when it comes to applying for a bank license, you definitely need to have a technology play there. In the technology play, you need to say, here's what I'm going to do to protect the privacy of my customers, to ensure hackers cannot log into my database and take out my customers. So that piece needs to be handled. Those are the big components of it. I recommend working with firms that have experience helping clients do that, but not only on the regulatory side. There are different forms of bank licenses. You can get a private bank license, you can get an offshore bank license, you can get a commercial license like that. It will be useful, and my firm is not that. We work with firms that do that. Firms that says, my specialty is in implementing everything you need for your bank to come alive. Well, what does that mean? If you want a commercial bank license, you need staff. Somebody needs to staff in it. You need technology. But Tata Consulting Services, TCS, they spent over 50,000 man hours rebuilding the operating system of a bank so that the operating system can talk to AI, can talk to blockchain. A lot of banks that are in the market for sale have these old legacy operating systems that you're just inheriting if you buy them. Look, I'm not here to pitch you, go and get a brand new bank license. I'm just saying the process of what's involved to do that.
Yeah.
But I think if you work with a firm that's helped clients do these types of transactions, you're a little bit better off. I happen to have authored a book on how private bank licenses are exponentially helping companies grow. You can get a copy, people can get a copy of it on Amazon. And then you can read my case studies or go to our events. You meet some of the bank CEOs we work with or regulators we work with like that. So that's just a little bit of experience. Now, look, I live in a world that's changing. I don't know how else to say that. Like Trump didn't have tariffs 6 months ago in the United States, but now we have tariffs. Like I live in a world that's changing and like that.
Yeah, it's very volatile. We don't know where it's going to go.
Right. So I wouldn't say my firm are experts. If anything, I would say we are students. We get a chance to learn with our clients. But when somebody says you're an expert, no, not expert. Trust me. The guy who did this last month, he could have changed a bunch of things this month. Commercial banks have this thing called Basel III, which means the amount of liquid capital you need to have. Like, it just changes regulators, auditors change whatever they're looking for from time to time. So I highly recommend clients to work with firms that have some experience in this. Now, what's unique about my firm versus others is we're solution agnostic, and that's very unique. Solution agnostic means like I'm not going to go try to find you a bank and sell to you so I can make a profit. I'm more interested in where you want to go, what are your capabilities, what you're going to do, so I can find a solution that's best suited for you, whether it's getting you a custom bank license or buying something that is existence. So in a lot of cases, in my case, a lot of my clients don't want to run a bank. They just say more, I get the benefit of it. I'd rather become a shareholder of a bank, if that makes sense. Or like I want to get a merchant bank license because a merchant bank is a bank that does something very specific. It's not a commercial bank that does, loans and deposits and wholesale banking. Like it doesn't do all that stuff. It's just one thing specific. So that I think is useful.
So there's a lot of different pieces that I heard here, but I'm going to bring this together in like a couple of sentences. It was quite brilliant. Now your audience doesn't know me, but I come from the world of media and PR.
Yes.
What you have just described right now is a PR function.
Yes.
If you want to get that bank license, you need to be like a PR person. What's your positioning? What's the value that you bring? Did you do your research in advance to see what's important to them? Have you positioned the message and the plan to what is important to them and where they're trending? Do you understand what type of bank that they are, where their capabilities are? Are they more of a merchant bank? Are they more technology? And how do you position what you are doing to be so specific that it becomes a no-brainer for them to say yes? So it just sounds to me like you're literally helping them with the PR of pitching to get the deal.
You got it. But I can help on the technology and staff augmentation too, but I don't want to worry with that. Sure. Yeah, definitely, yeah. I think I have on my YouTube channel, AltFunds Global, I think I have for sure one, but maybe three. I just don't know which ones are public and private, where we actually live negotiating with the regulator of the bank. So it's like, hey, we want to buy this bank in your region. We know how much money we have to put up, but before we buy, we want to interview you. And that's like, people like, what? Yeah, I want to look, I'm making a massive investment in your region. So I get audited by you, regulated by you. So I want to talk to you about all things I want to do. And in third world countries, it's a little bit unheard of. In developed countries, screw you, you're not even getting an appointment with me. Right. Tim was having humor.
You're so funny. You're just keeping it real, Timur.
Thank you.
So let's bust some myths. Why don't we? Yeah. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about owning a bank license? Something that's the thing that people, it's a misconception they have, and it's like a big wall. It just stops them from like, nope, I don't want to hear it. It just stops them from considering it. What is that big misconception?
I think most people, first of all, don't know they can own a bank license and then get up thinking about it. I think the next thing is they go, well, it must cost like hundreds of millions of dollars. And the answer is true. If you want to buy an established business, that's a bank that's been in business for 70 years, and is generating like $7 trillion in net worth or profits, for sure, nobody's going to sell you that for $5. But just get like a normal bank license in Cayman Islands or Dominica, or like, it starts as less than $1 million, just $1 million. Switzerland, just last week, we sold a bank license in Switzerland, private bank license that has some really functional things. Price tag was $1 million. Next week, we're going to be promoting another Swiss institution, $1 million. So going back to misconceptions, I don't know about it. The other one is that if I probably have to run it and I don't know how to run a bank. If you are a commercial bank that you are taking people's deposits, then for sure, it doesn't take on, like, you cannot just be entrepreneur. You have to have a team. You have to be licensed. There needs to be securities team. Like this, that one is complicated for sure. But just a normal bank license, a merchant license, a private license, or offshore license, like you don't need to have like any of these misconceptions that I need to, like, I don't know how to run it or something like that. I think it's a lot more easier than people think. The other one is that some people think that you need to have a technology. If you have a private bank license, it's more like a family office license. It's not something that I want to go and promote to the world. My clients may deposit money for a particular transaction. I'm leveraging that deposit with my so-called private bank license to get a multiplier to give them a loan. I don't need to go and have a software where clients can like log in, doing web access, like things like that. But remember, I'm not a big commercial bank. But if you want to go from a private bank license to that, there are white label bank software companies that will say, hey, Cindy, to build any of those softwares, I have a software that does your anti-money laundering document. It does, like everything is like built in for the software. So even when you start small and you want to grow big, the growing part is a lot more easier than people think. So those are the misconceptions.
Yeah. Timur, again, what I love about this is that there's options. There's not a one box fits all.
Right.
It's how involved do you want to be? So again, it goes back to really thinking through of how involved do I want to be or not want to be? What is the right fit in terms of the business? Do I want a white label? So I love that. Again, we get so caught up in our heads of, oh, I can't do this.
Right.
As opposed to exploring what if I could and what are the options. So I love that you've really broken those down.
Thank you.
Another big piece that scares people away is the compliance and the regulations.
Yes.
But you, again, are brilliant and you help to navigate a lot of your clients through this successfully. So what is some of the smart ways to really handle those regulatory hurdles?
Sure. So there's probably 7,000 hacks. Hack is the wrong word, but there's probably 7,000 ways of doing this correctly. I'll give you one that's very simple from a compliance regulatory perspective. I mentioned that just last week we helped a client acquire a Swiss bank license, private bank license. So somebody went to FINMA, which is the regulator in Switzerland. And by the way, every jurisdiction has their own regulator. So I think this works in most jurisdictions, if not all. Somebody in this case in Switzerland went to a regulator and said, I'm gonna get a bank license. Here's my resume, here's my background. I have clean shoes, like I don't have any background, criminal records, I'm not a businessman, whatever. And they got the license. Now you want to go and buy the license out, right? And because you want to run it. Something that's very simple is you tell the guy that's the seller to say, look, can you remain as the director of the corporation? I'm gonna have you have no job description so that you don't have any liability for my operation of it. But I want you to, on paper, still be the figurehead on paper, although I'm the one running it. The benefit of that is now you don't have to go to the regulator and say, look, there's a change in ownership and sound some kind of alarm, so people now have to come and audit you. You're keeping the guy who's already passed the exam to say, look, you passed the exam. You might as well, can I give you a couple $100,000 for you to have a no function, like you have no functional role here. So there's no risk, but you just have to stay on. So if you're asking me for compliance and regulatory strategies, that one would be something that I think is very easy to do.
You're so brilliant. I love this. It's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's just, you just avoid all the red tape.
Yeah.
And you make it really simple. So I bet that there are people watching right now going, I'm very intrigued. But they might be going, Timur, I don't even know where to start. What's the first move that I should make?
I think this booking a discovery call with my firm so we can understand you, who you are, what your background is, why you want to own a bank license. It's got to be a reason for it. I think having a discovery call, wouldn't be a bad idea with people that are either current bank CEOs, former bank CEOs, or people like me. I don't think that would be a waste of your time to have a discovery call. But after even talking to me, what would be useful is to go to people in a country that you want to have a bank license in, jurisdiction that you want a bank license in, and talk to current CEOs or former CEOs. And say, look, there's this goofhead called Timur. I used to get a bank license. I'm going to go get times multiple. I'm going to this. Is that true? And I asked, like last week, I'm running this mastermind on Mondays on helping out my clientele learn how banks make money, and then the intentions for them to get a bank license at the end of it. I brought in a CEO of a financial institution, and I said, you can ask him all about his rates. If you want to get a loan, bank credit, you can have that conversation, or you can have another conversation which is related to me. What's it like to run a financial institution? What are your biggest challenges, problems, and so on? So you get an inside perspective before you go down this path.
I think it's brilliant. I'm kind of speechless by this whole conversation because there's so much that we don't realize it's possible. And when we go, the first barrier is like, well, how can I possibly own part of a bank?
Right.
And just to know that the process is there and the positioning, if you know how to position it right, if you know how to get through those hurdles and the compliance and get past the regulatory stuff, like it's brilliant. So really, at the end of the day, if somebody is interested, just call your firm, set up a call, go into the discovery piece.
Sure.
And
100%.
see if there's perfect.
100%.
Love it. Is there any final words for people? This has been very inspiring of what's possible.
I think 35 years ago, you and me had something called MS-DOS. Every time you wanted to open up a computer, you had to have MS-DOS, and you had to know the coding for DOS and nonsense like that.
Oh, I remember that. That's
you remember
right.
that, right? You and me
I needed a moment to dig back in my brain back then, but yeah.
And then Microsoft got invented, and you put Microsoft, and then that made life easier. Now, I don't know how many operating systems there are, but my kids, are using their fingers, not codes, to like touch screen and open up operating systems at them.
Yeah.
But guess what? Banking has also shifted and became a lot more easier. Today, it's a lot easier to open up what's called a digital bank, crypto bank. Like you don't have to go open up a massive big bank like that as a starting point. And I just think accessing capital has just become it's just a complete game changer to use digital banks or private banks licenses to get started at a very cheap price, low price, and the ability to access capital. So I just find it's just amazing. Like it's just exploding. I think for people that want to commit to this pathway, the world is just infinite.
It's infinite. And what I really took away from all of this is that you're taking your power back, especially because there's so many crazy events happening all over the world, not just in the US. There's just a lot of volatility, but it's a way for you to step in your power, take your power back, and be part of something that is going to be more sustainable for you.
100%. Right.
Brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance for today. Is there any links we need to look at?
AltFundsGlobal.com. Book a consultation call. In our professional services, we talk about our area of practice in banking, where I get a lot of calls in the same way. I get it. I don't want to run it. Can you find me a bank? I can be a partner with the owner of the bank or something like that. So you need to have some amount of funds. Like I wouldn't walk in with $100,000. Like that's just way too low. So that's one option. Then there's people who say, Timur, can you just sell me something that's in existence and it's cheap and it runs and is regulated and operated? Another one could be, can you help me apply for a bank license, which is the heavy lift work?
Yeah.
Those are pretty much your options.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Timur, thank you so much for this brilliance. It was so enlightening for everybody, and hopefully people watching are super inspired of what's possible for them.
Thank you so much. David, is it true that you're an attorney?
Yes.
Is it true that you're taking bank credit experiences and sharing with your clients?
Yes, from you, Tamar.
From me? Oh my God, that's dangerous. And you're advising clients from talking to me.
I'm using what you told me now to advise my client because I think it will help with the piece of litigation we're in the middle of.
Oh boy, that's a big claim.
Yes.
Hi friends, I now want to take a minute and answer some of your frequently asked questions. One of the common questions I get a lot is, Tamar, we've learned a lot from you through your YouTube channel. How do we learn more? Can we fly down and meet your team? And the answer to all of that is yes, yes, and yes. If you want to learn more, my first invitation is to become a member of AltFunds Global. You simply go to our website, altfundsglobal.com. You sign up to become a member for free. You get access to webinars, offshore events that we do, and content that we never, ever, ever, ever publish on YouTube. I promise you that it's worth becoming a member for sure. The second way that you can learn a lot is I'm a published author. Structured Financing, Demystified, Hypergrowth, just multiple books on Amazon that you can get access to. I highly recommend going and checking out some of these books, getting engaged into some of the stuff, that strategies and tactics that we're using for ourselves, for our families, for our friends. You definitely want to check these things out for sure. Another question, I guess, Timo, why are you so passionate about getting a bank license? Why is that so important? Well, the truth is, our mission within AltFunds Global is to help businesses become self-funded for life. Imagine you run a coffee shop and I run a coffee shop. Imagine we buy the coffee beans from the same drawer and my coffee shop is right across yours, like really right across yours. Our competition is probably nil. But if you have a bank license and I don't have a bank license, and let's say I made $500,000 and you made $500,000 in income, but if you have a bank license, you are depositing a bank license with a central bank of the country where you own your own private bank license. Let me repeat this again. You are depositing your money with the central bank of the country you have your bank license on. So $500,000 deposited with the central bank should give you a line of credit of 10 times multiples. So that means you get a line of credit of $5 million. Now it's not free money, it's a line of credit of $5 million. Now, if you draw that entire money out and you go to whichever country you're currently resonating in, the country you're doing business with, and you know in real estate, you want to buy a house, you put 20% down and you get a loan for 80%, same thing. You put $5 million down with a business plan to your local bank, whoever your bank with, and say, hey, I want to grow my business, my technology business, real estate business, pharmaceutical business, whatever business it is. I'm a venture capitalist. I'm putting $5 million down. Your bank gives you a loan at four times more, so now you get a $20 million loan. Now it's not free money, it's $20 million loan. What can you afford to do with $20 million that I cannot afford to do with $500,000? Could you invest in artificial intelligence? Could you invest in hiring better people? Could you invest in advertising? Hell, with that amount of money, could you even buy auxiliary businesses or invest in auxiliary businesses? I say you can, and that's why we within AltFunds Global are so passionate in helping clients become self-funded for life, and getting a private bank license is one of the vehicles that I am personally very passionate about helping clients on. Another question, I guess, Timur, you charge a consultation fee. AltFunds Global, the team charges a consultation fee. Why do you charge a consultation fee when you guys can make so much money on the back end? It somehow slows me down from taking a credit card and paying you money for it. Well, here's the truth. We offer our content, millions and millions of dollars worth of content complete for free on YouTube. We don't advertise as of the date of doing this video. We don't advertise on YouTube, Google, or we don't do any kind of advertising at all. And what we find is the volume of traffic that goes into YouTube attracts people that are tire kickers, people that are fraudsters, people that have mental health issues. When we charge a small consultation fee, this deters the hacker, the fraudster, the person who's shopping around, the tire kicker. It eliminates all that and allows me and my team to be on calls or meetings with customers we actually want to do business with. What a concept. Now comes, this is better. At the time of doing a transaction with a client, that fee they pay for a consultation call, we refund it. At the conclusion of us doing a transaction with the client, we refund 100% of all the monies that they paid on consultation fees. This allows us to work with people that are committed to working with us, are serious about working with us, are not tire kickers, are not people that are like, they don't know what banking 101 is, and they're there to waste our time and energy. Just eliminates that. And me and my team are very proud of doing that. Next question I get is, Taimur, the alternative funding industry overall has a lot of fraudsters in it, has a lot of deep fake in it. What are you doing to protect us, protect yourself? So here's the answer to that. Any industry that has a lot of money by default attracts a lot of fraud. Let me say this again. Any industry that attracts a lot of money by default attracts a lot of fraud. I don't know who you bank with. If you bank with one of the top 20 banks in the world, pick a bank you bank with, or you use payment processing companies like PayPal, these companies see a lot of fraud every day, from fraudsters mimicking their website to mimicking their email addresses, and in cases like mine, once a year or twice a year, some idiot, excuse my language, decides to copy my picture on social media, tries to create a fake profile of me, and goes on social media selling scammy transactions. Now, we have the technology and the resources to catch that, usually within 72 hours of that happening, and then cause legal action against that fraudster. We have the financial resources, thank God, to do that today, but that's just the nature of this industry. So what we do to protect ourselves is we never solicit on social media anything, nor do we solicit in general. We offer a lot of educational materials, but we don't solicit. You'll never see me or any of my associates on any social media trying to sell anything, ever. Second, all transactions that we do, money always has to go through a reputable law firm. All transactions we do, money always has to go to a reputable law firm. We never ask the client to send us money or anything like that. Now, I do want to take a minute and talk a little bit about my competitors. In the United States, in the US alone, US has 3% of the world's population, and they have over 60% of the world's lawyers. In the United States, that's a fact, have 3% of the world's population and over 60% of the world's lawyers. I have a lot of legitimate competitors in the United States and around the world that unfortunately have been sued for wrongful things that other people have done. There's a lot of negative stuff on social media or websites about some of my legitimate competitors. And I want to tell you that a lot of my competitors are legitimate, they're hardworking people. I know them, they deliver real results. And unfortunately, they have negative comments or fraud or even lawsuits against them. The reason within AltFunds Global doesn't have a lawsuit against it, or me, Taimur Zaman, don't have a lawsuit against me, or people on social media saying that we're fraudsters or something like that, is simply because of my lack of vision. Every company you deal with, every major company you deal with, whether it's the cars you drive, Ford, Lexus, I don't know, GM, or Facebook, Google, YouTube, whatever you use, or medicine you have, like Tylenol, all of these companies have lawsuits against them. A lot of the companies you work with have litigations against them. It's just part of the growth. At some point, the business needs to grow exponentially, and that's when you have to see lawsuits as just the nature of the business growing. The fact that we don't have it is because of my lack of vision as the CEO and like trying to bark a tree like that. Now, I see that changing as we buy businesses that have other CEOs, as we grow. We have over 800 registered brokers with us. As that number grows, it's not normal for our business to continue growing without some idiot calling us fraudster, some idiot trying to sue us, or something like that. If you want to take advantage of the alternative funding industry, I'm going to tell you this is the industry I love. I'm going to tell you this is the industry that I've made a lot of money with. I'm going to tell you this is the industry I've helped a lot of clients make a lot of money with, friends and family make a lot of money with. And if this is an industry you want to get involved in, I recommend meeting the people you want to do business with, like physically flying out to meeting them. If you can afford to hire an investigator, we use a lot of former FBI, former CIA people. These are people you can hire to do background checks. It's not only do these people have lawsuits or not, or other losers calling them fraudsters or not. I'm telling you, a lot of my competitors are really good people, and they're not fraudsters. So like, do your own due diligence, listen to your intuition. We're really interested in working with some really good people that are vision-driven entrepreneurs that really want to serve the world. And I think we have some things that are really amazing to offer. Another question I get is, Taimur, we love all the services of AltFunds Global. What are the top 3 services you offer that we should really seriously think about, call you or your organization and get you guys involved? But my favorite service, the one that makes a lot of sense, is the trusted advisory service. This is when we become your chief banking officer. We work with your CFO, your legal team, the CEO, the COO. We look at where your organization is, where you want it to be. We look at banking programs that make sense for your type of business, that are proven and would work to generate access to alternative revenue sources for your business that makes sense. From that, we then create offshore tax structures, offshore bank accounts, offshore bank licenses for your organization, so the revenue that gets generated has a channel to go to that is well protected. We have a lot of domain expertise that I do not share ever on YouTube. It's not like a lawyer who's like, go create a trust account and cooks out it. Like we don't do. We do some very sophisticated stuff that I'm very proud of. That's our intellectual property. And so the trusted advisory services, where we become a trusted advisor, is one of the things that I would recommend everybody to look at. It's a monthly retainer, you pay for it, but let me tell you, for every penny you put in, that you get tens of dollars out of it. And I think you're not going to get this amount of expertise dedicated to your business. So that's something I would recommend you to think about and sign up for. Second one is, if you're looking for access to capital, we have a lot of unique programs like Rent a Rich Uncle that we can support your organization as long as your organization is a successful business and not a startup, not somebody who's going bankrupt. It's a successful business that has real cash, real assets, and is generating something real, that's real growth. I think we have some avenues for accessing capital that others simply cannot offer. And the final one that I love is we have a lot of asset management structures that are very unique to our intellectual property that I love to share with you. If you have assets, you want to grow, you want to get a bank license, you want to set up a trust, you want to work with multiple central banks, do some really cool stuff. I think I'm the only weirdest person that has real expertise and experience in doing this stuff. And so my name is Taimur, I'm from AltFunds Global. Thank you for following us up on YouTube. If you're doing that, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for trusting my team. And on behalf of my team, I just really want to say thank you. And we look forward to the opportunity of serving you.